everybody, this video is a PSA on Writers Republic and why you shouldn't give them your money. Don't let them scam you like they scammed me. Almost 2 years ago, I published a book called The Land of Vegeta, and at the time I had to use a self-publishing company called Writers Republic. That would pay for half of the costs and I would pay for the rest of it. And then I would get royalties when the book sold. I actually got a few sales from my family members and friends buying it off of Amazon. And I even remember seeing the books twice, in person. But then, I noticed after a while that none of those books were being shown to me as ever being sold. I had this page that I was able to look at for when books were sold. And for third-party publishers like Amazon, most people bought the book off, it would update there about a month or so afterwards. But I never got any updates. That page remained blank, despite the fact that I had seen my book in person 2 times, and I knew that people had gone out to buy the book. But I was never able to even see the evidence of that. And this is the story of how I, had to fight a publishing company to get my book to just not be sold anymore. In the background, I'm going to show you the rest of the comic revisions. These are comic revisions for my webcomic 9 Lives. It is currently on hiatus. Again, I know, I'm sorry, I'm very... but you can go read 9 Lives in the website in the description. And I'll also talk more about the book that I published towards the end. Throughout my entire time having this book published and advertising it, even with some posts getting thousands of views on YouTube, the page was never updated to show any sales at all, including the books that I had seen in person. I was concerned, so I emailed my publishing consultant about it, and she said that she'd get back to me after investigating the issue, because apparently Amazon hadn't sent them any updates about my book and any sales. But I never actually got a response from her. And I did some more digging, and one day, after wanting to look at my book to find the release date, I found tons of random bookshop websites that somehow had my book and were selling it. My contract only mentioned 3 websites that would sell my book other than the website itself: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart, and here my book was on several other sites that I was not informed about. Now, let's look at these 2 possibilities as to how this could have happened. Maybe they were buying the book and reselling it themselves. If so, where are my royalties for these sales? Where were these records of these sales? How did they get my book and buy it from me if it never got updated? And if Writers Republic had given them permission to do this, this was going directly against my contract. So I emailed my publishing consultant again, while asking again about another update on the Amazon thing, and mentioning these other bookstores. And she never responded. After a few months, I decided that I just wanted to pull out of the contract fully so I didn't have to deal with it anymore. And it took 2 full weeks to get it down. I first emailed my publishing consultant again, asking if we could call about the issue that I had, and I wanted to discuss something. She never responded, so instead I went to their website and found an email about requesting info, and I emailed them about asking to pull out of the contract and if I could get a refund. They said that they'd hand it over to someone who could deal with it. It took about 2 days for this person to respond, and he said, and I quote, I hope this message finds you well. I am reaching out regarding the sales performance of your book, The Land of Vegeta. Unfortunately, since its release, we have not recorded any significant sales. To address this, I suggest focusing on promotional activities to increase visibility and interest in your book. He didn't even read my email, because none of that was mentioned in my email. I had specifically mentioned that there were no evidence of the book even being bought, even though I had seen them in person. Care that there weren't a ton of people who had bought my book, even though I couldn't tell if there were. I could not tell if they were lying to me, because I already knew that they were lying to me, because these records of the books that I had known were sold were never shown to me. I never got any money for the books that I had seen. I never even got evidence of them existing or being sold, but I knew they did because I saw them in person. And so I responded, "Dear person, I'm sorry, but this isn't the issue. I know my book hasn't done amazingly. However, there isn't any records of the sales at all that I'm able to see. And I have seen books I have sold, but there's no evidence of such on my royalties page. This is the issue. There's also the issue that my book is being sold on multiple websites that weren't in the contract. If you look up the name of my book, it is on many sites that I did not give permission for." Hi, editing Dawn Human here, just a minute, who mentioned that I did not just find people reselling my book on eBay and a thrift store website, meaning that yes, people had bought my book and were reselling it. I was just not being shown the evidence that they had bought the book. Fuck you! I'd really just prefer if I could separate my book from the company and get it taken off of your site and other places you permitted. And I would like a refund of at least half the money I spent to get it published through your company. Please contact me when you have details. Please contact me when you have details. When you do this as soon as you can. Thank you, Don Hartke. I had to send this email twice and add another reply asking him to respond because he didn't respond to me. And finally, after 3 emails, he responded to me. "Do you want to cancel your book project with Writers Republic? I believe all the services in your book package have been fulfilled. A refund is no longer possible." Finally, he was understanding what I wanted, but I sadly wasn't allowed to get a refund for the $800 I spent on this godforsaken pain. But I responded anyway as calmly as possible. "Thank you. Even if a full refund isn't possible, I would still like my book to be completely separated from this company. I want the book off of Writers Republic's website, as well as all other places permitted in the initial contract." And he replied, I will have your fulfillment officer, Marie, contact you regarding the cancellation of your book." Finally, I was getting somewhere. 3 people that I had to contact, and none of them could actually do anything. About this time is when my publishing consultant finally replied to me, asking if they could call. I felt slightly bad about not replying to her, but she ghosted me for 3 months. I don't care anymore. We received a request to cancel the book, and we're truly sorry to hear that you've decided to pull out the title. We've already sent a request to remove the book from distribution and to cancel the title. It is already removed from WR website. For retailer sites like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, please take note of the following. And it then goes on to say that companies already have the books in their warehouse for sale, and therefore they cannot just get rid of them, and so they have to sell the rest of them before they can fully take it off their site. As soon as all of the books are sold, then the book will be fully down. Finally, it was over. I was finally out of this predatory contract that took advantage of me. I feel really stupid about not noticing this before, but I guess I was blinded by the joy of having my book published. So let's take this moment to talk about Writers Republic as a company and how predatory they really are. Looking at the company and finding tons of shit about them being a scam, but I was stupid and didn't listen to her because the nice lady on the phone sounded like she had my best interest at heart. These posts talked about how the company would take advantage of people's dreams, making them pay a bunch of money up front and then make them pay more money after the book was published. Don't offer refunds, and never actually pay the royalties that they said in the contract. So, if these are correct, taking advantage of people's dreams is very fucking true. I should have known when they never asked for my manuscript until they actually wanted to organize my book. They also said it would cost extra if I wanted an editor or book cover art or illustrations. Luckily, I got that I got around that by doing all that myself. Poorly. Editing the book myself. But all the art looks pretty good. Kind of. There is still a lot of typos in that book, though. And then, as I said, it costed $800 to publish the book. Which isn't actually too bad for printing a book and getting it on different sites. Then they asked me for $1,200 to get the book in store shelves. I refused because it was bullshit and mentioned that it was more than how I paid for the initial thing, and it wouldn't and I wouldn't be doing anything else with them until I got my first payout, which never happened. And then she tried to guilt trip me by saying they had given me a discount on my book. Discount? You told me that the cost of the book was going to be $1,600, and you would split it between the company and me. $800 is half of $1,600. I didn't get a fucking discount. That was in the contract. Anyway, as you heard, they wouldn't let me get a refund because I got all of my requests for my contract fulfilled. Not because it had been over a year, because I had already paid all of my money and my book was on sale. I couldn't get a refund because they were already selling my book. That is fucking bullshit. That's not how companies work. Imagine if you couldn't get a refund at a restaurant because they already made your food. What the fuck? And no, I never got my royalties. No one ever paid me for the sales that I had and didn't even show me the books that I had sold in order to make me believe that I didn't deserve any royalties. And then something that I never even saw mentioned on the internet, they gave my book to companies that were not in the contract. So, in conclusion, Writers Republic is even worse than people thought it was. One other thing to note is that I didn't find Writers Republic myself. I went to a website that was like, put your information about your book in here and we'll find a publisher. And it gave me the WR. Meaning that this company is at least a little bit trustworthy, is at least thought to be trustworthy by some people in the publishing world. However, I have yet to see any positive reviews from anyone who actually published their book through it. Anyway, I got out of the contract. But I didn't gain anything. And honestly, I am way too tired to fight for a refund like I had to fight to get my book down. Really tired now. I am thinking of, in the future, doing a Kickstarter campaign to get my books printed myself so I can sell them on my website. And don't have to worry about getting scammed, although still a worry about publishing your book. But in the meantime, I'm thinking of putting my book up as an ebook on my website. I'm thinking about $1-ish. I know that the book price on the website for the ebook was about $5, and I think that's too expensive, so I might just knock it down to like $2. But if any of you are interested in a Kickstarter, then maybe comment down below. The book is still available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Can't probably start getting any money from it, but you know, you can do that. Let me summarize the book for you in case you're interested. After a long war that ended in the Guardian of Light and her daughter having to enter the Earth realm in hopes of saving it, her daughter, Alina, must return home with her new sister in hopes of living a happy life while trying to manifest her mother's old power. Turns out, the same creatures that destroyed Earth are now back here in the land of Magina, and Alina is shocked to find out that the one leading them to hurt her people is her own cousin, and now she has to stop him before he undoes the peace brought by the war. If that sounds interesting to you, then tell me down below. I actually have 2 sequels planned, and I'm really glad I didn't give Writers Republic any more money. But I would really like to get these books printed too. And even while I was in Writers Republic, I had always thought about publishing my book again, because I wanted to get people to see it, because I do like the story. Anyway, this situation has me mentally and physically tired. It's time for a nap.